Sorry guys, things gone a little bit haywire here, trying to get things started. My apologies, a little bit of a issue coming up. That's okay, we're still going to get started somewhat on time here, so apologies about that. Here we go, got some King of the Hill action here today. Welcome, welcome. Yes, it's from Medieval 2 Total War, so Age of Empires, not quite. So yes, hello. I'm actually just going to leave the soundtrack playing for just a minute. I'm still trying to attend to some things in the background, so we will be getting started very shortly. But just sit tight for now, and I'll be right back. Okay, I am mostly here now. Let's switch on over to the live game, and here we are. Okay, we're here. Apologies about that, guys. It's been a day for sure. Got a lot of stuff done today, but at the same time, kind of a slight disaster. Might have spilled a bunch of coffee on my carpet right before I started the stream. So that's great. In case you're wondering why I was slightly late today, but welcome. Good to see you, Rubber Duck. Got Zach, Hank, Way, Yell, of course. Be interesting. Gonna be seeing a little bit of Dark Elves versus Warriors of Chaos, looks like. Excuse me. That's fine. It's not like brand new carpet or anything. It's totally fine. Totally fine. Oh yeah, totally Rubber Duck of War, for sure. It actually increases, you know, the value of the place, which I'm going to be trying to sell probably in the next few months. Yes. Let's see what these guys do. Yeah, probably Black Phillip. I would say so. There's not actually many Dark Elf mains, so it's not the biggest sample size, but Ice Power is a very strong player in general. And yes. Yeah, right? Makes you want to play Dark Elves, exactly. Dark Elves are pretty decent, though. I mean, I've been winning games with them. You just gotta play outside the box. Or play in a box, depending on the matchup. Thankfully, I mean, my carpet's like somewhat the color of coffee. It is kind of like the color of like a light, like, I don't know, a light iced mocha or something. Kind of a very light tan color almost, but yeah, was noticeably different colored with the coffee, unfortunately. But I think it'll come out. I've got some kind of carpet cleaner stuff sitting on there right now. You're supposed to like leave on there for a couple hours. So once that's done, vacuum it all up. Hopefully it'll be all right. Should be fine. Should be fine. All right. Let's see what we got then. Thank you, wonderful Mid-2 music. Yeah, it does. I like playing Dark Elves for that reason. It does feel pretty rewarding. Let's see what Ice Power's got, though. I'd imagine probably a Morathi. Yep, Morathi Double Manticore. I know he's a huge fan of this Air Force. It is a very, very strong Air Force. 3 Scourge Runner Chariots. 3 Repeater Crossbow, rather, Dark Riders. 4 regular Dark Riders and some basic sad swords. Fear Spears. Very basic setup here. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I think it's, you know, definitely playing around the kite and the mobility. I love Dark Riders personally. Probably one of my favorite low-tier light cavalry. I don't know if they're necessarily the best, but they're definitely one of my favorites. And actually one of the few Dark Elf units that I kind of like. I mean, don't look at the horses. Just don't look at the horses. These dudes, though, I don't know why, they kind of look like Desert Raiders to me. They got like these face coverings and like these kind of black headdresses. They got these cool like breastplates and a little bit of armor, not a ton. Their hats are pointed, but they're not like ridiculously cone-like most, you know, elves. They got pretty cool spears. They're light cavalry, obviously. No shields on these guys, but they can take shields if they want to. Capes flowing regally in the wind. Yeah, actually, like, this is probably one of the few Dark Elf units that I actually do just appreciate straight up, even though their shoulders do appear to have some clipping issues. Maybe CA wants to look at that. Maybe we don't want to look at it anymore, in fact. Let's have a look at the Warriors of Chaos army here. Gonna be some Horsemasters, pretty typical Marauders, kind of in a little star here. Around Archaon the Everchosen, some more Horsemen and Horsemasters over on the side. Soul of Damnation Hellcannon. The positioning here is super interesting to me. Because he's like on the lowest possible ground with this thing, which, I mean, granted, because of the arc, it can fire up and over the hill no problem, but he's not going to be starting out with any visibility here. So on this map, I like to deploy a little bit of Vanguard forces maybe over here, then push up and gain visibility, or you could deploy your entire force over here. There's this kind of mild, unpassable terrain. You can kind of set up on this hill, try and take the high ground and push down. Let's see, though. Let's see, though. I'd probably go 12 Alex, just for me in general. I would go 12 ranged units as Lizardmen. You go double Solar Engine, 6 Chameleon Skinks, or you could go, you know, 4 Pterodons, 2 Chameleons. That's what, 8? And then you go 4 Javs. That's your 12 missile units. Yeah, that sounds about right. 12 missile units. Look at this, though. Trying the Burning Head along with the leadership debuff of the Soul of Damnation here is just about to rout these repeater crossbows. Considering their leadership is pretty decent, that's actually pretty intense. It does look like, unfortunately, he doesn't get the Javelin leadership debuff in at the same time. Could have actually routed these guys, potentially, but we're going to have a Doom Bolt from Morathi dropping down. So, nice, intense skirmish fight. This will generally favor the Dark Elves here because of the Scourge Runners. Like, the difference maker potentially is going to be the Soul of Damnation, although right now it hasn't made that great a contact yet. Yeah, you outshoot them, exactly. Because you see what Ice Power is trying to do here. He is very much trying to shoot. The thing is, though, with, like, Lizardmen poison shooting, you can outshoot the Dark Elves. Solar engines are a big part of that too, obviously. As we see here, this artillery is kind of a key component, but Yeah, one Horsemaster already been broken. Oh, was that a fireball? It doesn't look like it made contact, unfortunately. And, I mean, the Hell Cannon using its ammunition on these repeated crossbows is totally fine. Archaon, it will lose to Morathi and to both the Manticores at the same time. So, Deadly Bunnies here does need to keep in mind that fact and make sure he preserves some kind of tools to take on the Manticore. Just looking at the Manticores, looking at the rest of his army, I don't honestly see a lot that can challenge the Manticores on the ground besides the jabs, so he may want to play a little bit conservative with them. Nice little contact there from the Soul of Damnation on one of the Scourge Runner models. Right now, the Scourge Runners really haven't taken much HP damage at all, and they could be a big problem as well. There's not a ton of mass here from Deadly Bunnies. But, yeah. Let's take a look here. Nice Soul of Damnation shot lands right on those infantry there. The infantry are kind of a non-factor, not completely, but yeah, we do have Poison Warhounds as well. They can potentially be used to bog up the Chariots, but the Chariots having anti-infantry will hit the Hounds with their splash attacks reasonably hard. And yeah, let's see. More shots from the Hell Cannon just dropping down. The unfortunate thing for the Warriors of Chaos is the leadership on these Dark Riders is just good enough. They're not likely to rout from a lot of stuff. Does look like finally they get rid of one unit, though. And the thing is, too, like, if the Scourge Runners use up all of their ammunition on these Horsemen and Horsemasters, I mean, that's pretty okay use of value. You can see the balance of power is tilting a little bit more, ever so often in Warriors of Chaos' favor. Of course, that could turn around very quickly, but utilizing the ammunition does make an effect on that. Yeah, going to be a bit of a shooting phase here. Let's see. Can Warriors of Chaos actually outshoot the Dark Elves here? And it does look like Dark Elves are starting to push forward with their kind of tattered, haggard infantry line. Not a lot left besides the Chariots, Morathi, and the Manticores. I honestly think, though, if well managed, those three, or I guess 5, 6 units, can win the battle pretty much by themselves. But Dark Rider's going to charge here. Horsemasters and the Hounds and everyone pull back. The Hounds could counter in here, potentially, but it does look like they're actually going to miss out on their charge. Pretty unfortunate. Actually take the charge from the Dark Riders. I don't know if the Dark Riders had a charge order on them directly. But as the Marauders try and switch back, they're going to start getting rear charged by the Chariot, and it's just kind of starting a little bit of a chain reaction. The Hounds over here on the left flank of the Dark Elves, right flank for Chaos. Yeah, they get seen off very quickly by the Dark Riders, and Murderous Prowess is active, so nice charge buff. Keep in mind, of course, Chariots do rely mostly on their charge bonus. They're up to 50 charge bonus. Same thing with these Dark Riders, right? So a little bit of extra charge across the board. The Manticores do not have it, but Morathi does. She goes up to 106 charge bonus. Absolutely insane. So the Dark Elves kind of counter push is on, and this is a chance where they have a chance to come back. But Archaon, just straight up deleting these Scourge Runner Chariots, dismantles one model manually. Now he's going to get in a little bit of trouble. Gets bogged up. Oh, the Doom Bolt just doing a bunch friendly fire to the Manticore, but you see Archaon's about to get caught out here by all of this Dark Elf stuff. This is very bad for him. If he gets completely surrounded here by single entities, he's going to lose very, very quickly, and it looks like he doesn't have a ton of choice. Pops Cascading Fire Cloak for a little bit of extra melee defense. Certainly helpful, and he's going to hit Morathi hard, but Soul Stealer just to be dumped on top of that, and very quickly you see the balance of power does stabilize. Any hits that Archaon gets, he's got Slayer of Kings active, so he's going to have an insane amount of weapon strength, but a little bit of Chaos Warriors do make it in here to try and support Archaon. Archaon just about finishes with the one Manticore, but Morathi is completely healthy still. The other Manticore is completely healthy still. Big, big problems for Warriors of Chaos here in terms of that heroic single entity core. And that's the reason why you take this build, is because even if your entire army dies, basically, those 3 units, they only need 1 or 2 support units, realistically, to win the battle. Well, Damnation's used up most of its ammo at this point, but it does get charged by some Dark Riders here. Archaon survives the initial gooning attempt, but it looks like Ice Power is coming up and around for another push. The Manticore Oh, gets slightly blocked up by the Chariots there, but then Archaon also gets blocked up by the Chariots. Cascading Fire Cloak on him. Taking that rear attack's definitely going to hurt. Trying to pull away out of this engagement and just bog the Manticore and Morathi down in these Chaos Warriors. Another Soul Stealer, it looks like, just to keep Morathi nice and fresh. It's not going to hit Archaon, but the other Manticore does come back here, and you can see the balance of power tilting pretty decisively in the Dark Elves' favor as they just kind of come in to clean up in the late game here. I mean, there's still some healthy-ish units of infantry, but the fact that these two single entities are still so healthy, it's nasty, nasty stuff. Archaon probably can finish this Manticore, but just the 3 versus 1 single entities is not, doesn't look great for Archaon, unfortunately. Oh yeah, he just gets straight up killed there by a Manticore. Yeah, exactly. He timed it greatly. Yeah, good point, Alex. He timed it greatly with that Murderous Prowess, where he got the, you know, a lot of his units that were going to be relying on their charge. You know, they had already used up a lot of their ammunition, had that long skirmish phase, and it was very advantageous for him to charge at that particular moment. So great timing from Ice Power, putting on a clinic with the Dark Elves there. Ooh, man, that Soul of Damnation, 221 kills at the end of the day, 1900 damage value. Beautiful job. The Horsemen and Horse Masters, unfortunately, were the part that he kind of lost out on the battle value. Chaos Warriors do reasonably well. Marauders are also kind of just here. Archaon getting a little bit pummeled also. But yeah, credit to Ice Power. I think probably what he needed is... what Deadly Bunny's needed here is to use these Hounds while he's kind of contesting the mobile engagement. And not only that, but also to potentially have Archaon forward there. You could, like, for example, get the Manticores and Morathi to bite on a bad charge, potentially just get some Javelin volleys, especially to neutralize one of the Manticores early on, just make them enrage straight into something, I don't know, maybe just a little bit more of an active defense, I guess is what I'm saying, what I like to have seen there, but it's going to be hard. Ice Power has the same number of units as Deadly Bunnies here, but he has, you know, the one Hell Cannon does kind of change the equation because it's a unit that's relatively stationary and you have to kind of allocate to protect. That being said, it is contributing, you know, shots in that kind of skirmish phase. Anyway, interesting battle for sure. Yeah, kind of a battle of attrition. To a degree, you could say that. But, good stuff. Let's go ahead and see who's next on deck. Looks like we've got let's go either Stormrunner or Spudhouse. Yeah, let's get them in here. We'll go ahead and switch the map up to... let's go Grass Hill. And it looks like I'll need to send someone a Steam invite. Traditional process here, so let's do this. Yes. Guess we could put a little music on in the meantime. Apologies if that was a little bit too loud. Yeah, Chaos, at least for the time being, has no healing. We'll see. They may end up getting healing later on. Once they get to Lore of Nurgle, I guess. Oh, here we go. Ice OP. Yeah. Yeah, 40 shots on that artillery. It's true, the artillery did pay for itself. Actually, probably the one bright spot. That's a tricky one. Yeah, that is the kind of issue in that particular matchup is Dark Elves are actually surprisingly good at kiting. A lot of people just kind of forgot about Scourge Runner Chariots because they're less blatantly OP than they used to be. They are still pretty strong, though. So the way this works, the sitting king can choose to stay the same faction and no bans, or pick a new faction and he gets 2 bans. Trolls, yeah. Actually, Ice Power, the trolls are a decent... If you combine them with aspiring champions, I actually think like 1 or 2 champs isn't completely terrible in that matchup. Yeah, the trolls, they can regenerate some HP. Let's see what they can do. Stay Dark Elves with no bans. But I was gonna go Lizardmen then. Tricky one. See what he can do. Maybe he'll take the advice we were just talking about and go, 12 missile units. I'd be curious, actually, if you went 12 missile units with Lizardmen. Dark Elves went like 4 bolt throwers. The problem is the Chameleon Skinks, really. That is the main issue, because like Scourge Runners even lose to Chameleon Skinks. As the Chameleon Skinks are kiting them, they're shooting them, and especially if you have a good presence of fire, like have multiple units kind of overlapping, the Scourge Runner Chariots don't quite have enough HP or armor to withstand. They get shredded, so I don't know. What do you guys think? Tier 15 faction. Yes. Well, Tier 14. Come on. Beastmen exist still, right? In their current state. Even though... Well, Dark Elves do have one matchup that's conceived as favorable. Whereas High Elves... Well... Beastmen have like 2. Well, 1 really, but... What do you guys think? Beastmen, in my mind, have an advantage against High Elves. Their matchup against Dark Elves is also can be relatively even, although they can definitely have some builds that will give them struggles. But what do you guys think? What do you think? Curious. Chaos Warriors? I don't think so. I don't think Chaos Warriors are the worst. Their roster seems unflexible, but in fact it's actually like one of the most nuanced rush factions. Like you really have to consider compositions and kind of plans and stuff. Anyway. Looks like these guys are ready, so let's get to it. Dark Elves have Manticores and Hydras. Yeah, the Hydras are decent there. Ungol Raiders are also pretty good, though, in that matchup. And the Centaurs also, like, they do good shock damage on the charge. Very good against Dark Elves. Yeah, just for me thinking about it, like how I made my tier list, which probably will make another tier list in the next, like, month or so, even though... We're likely to get another DLC, hopefully pretty soon. I don't know. I mean, of course, there's, by the way, in case any of you guys didn't know, I haven't really been covering it on my channel, but there is a new Three Kingdoms DLC that you should know exists. Yeah. Personally, the reason I haven't been covering it is just that I'm not super interested in Three Kingdoms right now. Like, my focus has always been primarily on Warhammer, and unfortunately, Three Kingdoms, like, the initial release state of multiplayer led to the multiplayer scene not really developing a lot, from what I understand. I mean, I'm not really connected at all to that community, if it exists. From what I understand, there's not really much of a multiplayer over there, in the same way that there is for Total War, right? So, that's why I'm not covering that, but it does exist, and yeah, it's there. So, I can't really say how good it is. I haven't played it, but, you know, it's more Total War Three Kingdoms, so if you like Total War Three Kingdoms, definitely check it out. Anyway, hopefully then, with this, you know, Three Kingdoms release now done with, then, you know, ideally, unless there's another Troy thing coming, then we should see something on Warhammer in the next month or so. I don't know. Again, no insider information, pure speculation. Let's see what we got, though. For Spud House, we got... Oh, Nakai the Wanderer. Oh, Nakai. Nakai. That's awesome. We got Ancient Steg. Ancient Steg. Interesting. So he's going with the Skink machine guns. Definitely Skinks with threatening auras. Some Skink cohort with jabs. 1 unit of Red Crest. Manticore summons. He's got 4 Chameleon Skinks. And it looks like 1 Pterodon in the back there. For Dark Elves, let's see. 2 Cold One Knights and a Dark Rider. We've got a couple of Reaper Bolt Throwers here. Going to be very good against those Ancient Stegons. War Hydra, Morathi. 3 Repeater Crossbows. It's relatively small. So, yeah. Let's see how Spudhouse takes this. I do think he has a pretty good build, as long as he can keep his Ancient Stegs from taking too much damage. But the Ancient Stegs pulling up with their machine guns will be able to gat down this Chill of Sontar, I think, pretty effectively. And the Pterodon Rider is also flying in using their ranged attacks to go after either the Skirmish Cav or the Reaper Bolt Throwers is going to be very, very good. Like, even just coming in from this side, like, yeah, this one is probably going to get rolled up on by all 3, so it looks like they're going to try and skirmish out of that situation. Even just flying directly over, like, because the repeater crossbows can't fire while they're moving, you kind of hang out, like, directly over top of them, like, flying back and forth. You could get a drop rocks situation, which would be pretty good, but up in the front, Million Skinks advancing. Spud the Goat. Yeah, Spud, by the way, I should say, a new patron of mine. A big thanks to him for his generosity. I'm going to be starting up some... I haven't had a chance to do any yet, but I do owe him some one-on-one lessons. Did some more with Rider of Rohan this morning as well. We played a bunch of High Elf games. You know, I played a few High Elves, he played a few High Elves. Very much a High Elf main. So that's good. You know, it gives me practice with a faction that I don't get to play as or against super often because, for whatever reason, High Elves... I mean, there is a reason. They're not super popular in the meta right now. A really nice breath attack here from the Chill of Sontar. Going after the Chameleon Skinks is a great target. It looks like they're trying to focus fire on Morathi. But unfortunately, the 1 unit of Pterodons, it does look like, got eaten up by the crossbows there. So, we've got a Manticore online. Looks like the push is active. The Ancient Steg is moving up. There's no healing on it, but it has taken a pretty considerable amount of damage from the 2 Bolt Throwers there. Other Ancient Steg, though, look at this, just moves in and nukes this Bleak Sword. Manticore gets pulled up here. Javelin's also being thrown at Bleak Swords, but Chill of Sontar is going to move up with Morathi. Nice Soul Stealer in that pocket there. We'll probably finish that Ancient Steg, and that is a pretty considerable amount of value to be lost out on already, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, the Dark Elves are starting to lose out on some value as well. These Bleak Swords just getting absolutely pounded by a bunch of stuff, so we'll see. That Ancient Steg might actually be able to recover its leadership if the Bolt Throwers end up switching, but it looks like right now they're staying focused, trying to shatter it, which is definitely the right call. But more Skink Jabs moving up. The Manticore gets thrown down in here, momentarily distracting the Cold One Knights. You could get some jab tosses in those Cold One Knights while they're distracted. That would be pretty solid. Nakai also moving in here. Looks like Hydra lining up for another breath. Makes some okay contact through the center of the skink cohorts there. Not the most expensive target to be shooting at, but definitely the javelins are dangerous. Dark Riders over here, losing to Chameleon Skinks, but doing a lot of damage in the process, and probably trading reasonably cost-effectively. And look at this, Nakai dives in and just wrecks this unit of Cold One Knights pretty much single-handedly. I think there might have been some friendly fire from the Dark Riders. Oh yeah, those Dark Riders are doing horrific friendly fire right there. That's fine, though. Soul Stealer over here on this Ancient Stegodon also hits the Skink Priest Lord Beast, but it looks like a Manticore summon's going to be used now. The question is, where will Spudhouse deploy it? Likewise, Pterodon Riders came down. They're bogging down this one Reaper Bolt Thrower here. Nakai's in a little bit of danger in that these three Skirmish Cap can now go after him, but it looks like the Manticore is going to be sent to screen there. Unfortunately, the Ancient Stegodon is just about to rout, but we've got a whole bunch of Skinks coming back as well. Nakai hits his Enrage. He must have used his ability there to make himself very, very angry. Looks like he's going to try and go back and pressure these Dark Riders as well. Chameleon Skinks doing something similar. The problem is Morathi and this Hydra are left alone here in the back, and they still have a lot of HP and stopping power left. But maybe if he can push, like these Chameleon Skinks got up and around, he can get in here and make a heavy push, try and get rid of these Dark Riders before kind of turning his forces around. Obviously, the skirmish of the Chameleon Skinks will be very good against these two single entities, but I'm concerned about the loss of the Ancient Stegodons. The one has come back here, but it's really not got enough power left to make much of a difference, and yeah, very unfortunate Nakai gets multi-gatted by the Dark Riders here. Honestly, I think for this build, you just swap the Ancient Stegs out for Solar Engines and just go a little bit wider, and I think this probably actually would have worked pretty well. Yeah, just have a little bit of, like, I don't know, Meaty Saurus or something. Maybe even have, like, some Cold One Riders or something. And I'm thinking the two Ancient Stegodons, they're, what, like 1,600 a pop? So, yeah, if you got rid of the two of them, you could take, like, 3 Cold One Riders and maybe one extra Red Crest or something. I don't know. A couple extra Javs. It looks like Ice Power is pretty well in the lead here. Aren't they done with the sagas now? I don't know. You know, they've played with a lot of cool ideas, and I haven't made as much content about Troy as I would have liked. I do think there's some things from Troy that they really should, like, for example, you know, not this Troy, this most recent Troy DLC, which I actually didn't even play. Again, I just, like, my interest for it's just not there in the same way that it is for Warhammer. But, you know, the mechanics-wise, not this last DLC, but the one before, where they did some Horde factions for Troy, like with the Amazon's factions, right? They had some really cool Horde mechanics in that update, right? These Horde factions where, I don't know, they just had some cool new mechanics where, like, I really like the one time, you know, like when you raise a settlement for the first time, you get a massive reward, basically. So even if the enemy ends up recolonizing it, you know, you still get the benefit of, have some incentive to travel around the world and conquer new places, basically, right? I also submitted some more feedback. Basically, like, there's ideas in Troy that could benefit Total War Warhammer 2 and 3. The UI is another example. They've made some significant UI improvements, in my opinion. Like, if you look at Total War Warhammer 2 to 3 Kingdoms, it was actually a step back in terms of UI design and, like, functionality, like ease of use and everything. Whereas Troy was definitely a step forward. Yeah, good game to both there. I do think Spudhouse, I mean, a little bit of a meme build with Nakai there, but he's got something going here. You just trade these two Ancient Stegodons out for Solar Engines, and then maybe go a little bit wider, a couple of Cold One Riders, maybe a couple of extra Skink cohorts as well, just some extra stuff. You can take Nakai if you want, but obviously other lords are going to be more competitive. Here, actually, Krokgar on foot might have been really solid. He could have beaten the crap out of the Hydra. Probably would have traded okay against Morathi too. I don't know for sure. I haven't tried that, but anyway. Next up, we're going to have Stormrunner. GG. GG indeed. Yeah, the unit recruitment style, like the way that you kind of upgrade the units, I personally loved that. And in fact, I had a whole video, like it was probably about halfway done. It was like this nice edited video. I never finished it. I might actually go back and finish it at some point, about Troy and the mechanics of the Horde factions and how I like that. Like the unit upgrade thing too. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of like upgrading your units over time. Because for me, it always felt like, I don't know, like having to disband your veteran low-tier troops to then replace them with high-tier troops always felt kind of wrong. Like I felt like it'd be cool if you could upgrade them from one tier to the next. And that kind of is how the Amazons worked as well, right? So there was an attempt. You did good, Spudhouse. There, it was pretty solid. We can go over that. You know, if you rewatch the replay too, I gave you a couple pointers there. But you know, it's definitely an attempt. It's a good attempt. I'll say that. So let's see. Let's see here. This music's pulled back up. Yeah, and there's some other stuff about Troy. Like I said, the UI improvements, especially on the unit cards, showing, for example, the effect of vigor in battle. So like the speed decrease when you get to the higher levels, you know, morale, even armor gets decreased, right? All of that goes down from fatigue. So having that represented on the unit cards is nice. Also representing the weapon strength in such a way where it was, you know, a damage over time, like the missile damage is represented in this game. Yeah. Yeah, for Warhammer, it is more difficult to implement for some factions, Arja, but it does make sense, for example, for Warriors of Chaos. I think that makes probably the most sense for them as a faction, because then, like, you start out as a basic Marauder, because that's kind of the way Chaos works, right? Is like, as you know, do the Dark God's favor, then you gain their blessings and kind of get, like, armor and weapons, and over time you like, turn from a regular human into a Chaos Warrior, right? So that kind of transitional process represented in-game, I think would work perfectly for the Warriors of Chaos. Yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying, Ice Power, in the cast, was you just switch out those Ancient Stegodons for Solar Engines, and that build is really nasty. Like, really nasty. You could even, I think, did you have 3 Chameleons or 4? You could have maybe taken one more 360 shooting unit, either a Skink Chief or... A Skink Chief's honestly not a bad option, because he gives you a lot of the similar benefits, but he's a single entity, which, you know, comes with its own upsides and drawbacks, but he is much cheaper than taking another Chameleon Skink, right? So... Great Bow Stags do here? They're not great, honestly. The only Great Bow Stags are a weird one. I've been trying to make a video about them for a while, but I just can't really figure out how to use them. The Great Bow Stags, yeah, they're weird, man. They're weird. Like, the only thing I've really used them before in the past is for shooting, like, counter-shooting Skaven artillery, actually. But, yeah. The Pterodons count as 360. Yeah, but you had 2 Pterodons and 3 Chameleon Skinks, or was it 4 Chameleon Skinks? Because you can take 6 360 shooting units, right? So I think you might have had 1 slot. Maybe you had 4 Chameleon Skinks, though, and I totally forgot. Yeah. Yeah, see, for me, like, that upgrade system makes perfect sense for the Warriors of Chaos, and for the Horde factions, I think all the Horde factions having unique rewards for raising settlements is a good idea. I think that's just something that should be with all the Horde factions. And I also submitted a bunch of feedback about how to make it harder for the AI to colonize certain places, like depending on who it was raised by, you know, what type of ruin it is, then you would have maybe a small, like, encounter battle that would possibly pop up when you try and colonize a settlement. So it would be, you know, you still potentially could colonize it with a single lord. It would cost you more gold, though, and you would then also have to potentially fight hard battle. So it would, you know, incentivize you to actually settle with full armies, and it would kind of help curtail the AI, because one issue you have when playing with the Horde factions is just that, you know, the AI just easily resettles everything, and you can never maintain any wasteland. you know, with Chaos, sometimes you can get some allies to work with, and like with Nakai, they tried to address that in a very janky way, but then your allies can't defend themselves. Oh yeah, Foot Chiefs. Foot Chief, you just stick her on Morathi, and Morathi can't catch him. Foot Morathi can't catch him, and it's a nightmare for her. A living nightmare for her. 4 Chameleon Skinks. Okay, so you had your max 360 shooting then. Yeah, you could even potentially consider optioning one of them out for, well, optioning one of the Chameleons out for a Skink Chief. Save you a little bit of funds. You could maybe take one more cohort, or, you know, use it wherever else. Kiting Daw with dinos is pretty funny. Oh, that just sounds mean. Rude person. Anyway, I should probably change up the map. Let's go to... or guard? I think this one's okay. Let's try it. This one. I'm excited though. I'm excited to see what improvements from Troy make it into Total War Warhammer 3 and possible Beastmen or Warriors of Chaos update. Yes, as these guys are getting their armies picked, I'm gonna go grab a drink of water. I'll be right back. Alright, I am returned. Don't be sad as sad swords. Double Ancient Salamander, yeah. Yeah, the Ancient Salamanders against the Dwarfs I have seen to use to good effect. They're just so squishy. So squishy. Greenskins, we'll see. Greenskins can do pretty well here. Dark Elves, because they're kind of lowest lowest total HP as a faction, they can have some issues with Greenskins, but at the same time, you can actually counter-rush the Greenskins and punch them in the face pretty hard. Oh man, I'm excited though. I'm excited for the future of Total War, guys. There's a lot of good coming. There's a few that, speaking of Three Kingdoms too, there's a faction in that game which was from a few updates ago. It's the mercenary faction. I think it's Yan Baihu, the White Tiger. He I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong, by the way, but he basically, like, you get like contracts from other factions where you like go and conquer a city, but instead of you taking it, you give it to them, and you get like a huge burst of gold and XP and like whatever, you know, faction resource to finish your campaign. I was thinking for a Southern Realms style faction, if they were to eventually do a Southern Realms DLC, which I definitely think they should. I'm probably going to do a whole pitch for one eventually. But having that like mercenary contract system where the other Order factions, you know, Dwarfs, Empire, Bretonnia, High Elves, maybe even Dark Elves, potentially. Potentially you could even include the Skaven as well. I mean, I don't know. In the lore, those of you guys who know a little bit more about the lore, do Skaven hire, like, the Southern Realms mercenaries, or is it primarily only, you know, your typical Order, whatever, Dwarfs, High Elves, Empire, Bretonnia, you know, Border Princes, those guys. Like, whoever would hire the mercenary companies, because Southern Realms, from what I understand, is like the Dogs of War army, rather. It's kind of like a haphazard mishmash of a lot of stuff, basically like regiments of renown, and kind of expats from all over the world. They have, you know, characters that are vampires, characters that are elves, you know, regiments from different places. So it'd be really cool, I think, as like a late game DLC for Game 3 after Ogre Kingdoms, because I think they even have Ogre, like, mercenaries too, right? Anyway, can you bring a Moon Dragon and Double Sun? Double Sun? I don't think so. I think you're limited to 2 troops with breath attacks under banner rules, I want to say. Maybe not. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure you can only take 2 breath attacks. Crossbow Cav cannot rush. Yeah, I mean, you can try and actually rush with Helibron, believe it or not. I'm sure you've tried that, Killerinu. Yeah, I agree with you, Arju. Yeah. I agree. Like, I'm personally, you guys probably know this if you're watching right now, I'm a huge fan of cavalry in general in Total War Warhammer and in all Total War games, so the lack of cavalry in that game does kind of make the battles a little stale for me. Like, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed other Total War games. It feels like playing, like, early game Rome 2 all the time, which is okay, but it's not my favorite. Not as fun as Warhammer. Like, you have some monstrous elements, but it's not as, you know, in-depth as Warhammer. There's not as much. It's a little more basic. So, yeah. Yeah, see? Ogres sometimes work as mercenaries, skinks. Yeah, so, like, lizardmen could potentially hire them. And this is the thing, is you could travel, maybe even have it be a horde faction, where you travel all across the world, but you know, instead of sacking places and raising them, you liberate them for whatever faction, you know, gives you a contract to do so. And you could even have it function somewhat like the WoW, right? Where if you, like, you have a specific settlement target, but any actions undertaken against that faction will also give you rewards. I don't know. They could do some different things with it, I feel. But anyway, the rush is definitely here for for Ice Power. He's going for the kind of defeat in detail stratagem, lots of mobility and concentrated terror at breaking specific pockets of Greenskin's units. This is a very good way of doing things. You have a Soul Blight going down here, these Orc boys, Savage Orc Biggins even going down on weapon strength is pretty significant. They get quickly terrified by those Mantcores. That is an expensive unit, relatively speaking, to have get nuked right off the bat here. And you can see the Greenskin Skirmish Force is kind of pushing up on the flank here. They are skirmishing against Scourge Runner Chariots, but this kind of flank overload collapse is basically what I do with my double Empire, or double Griffin Empire build as well. Just concentrate all in one place and get some quick terror outs on the Greenskins and start to profit that way. Kind of pick them apart and not take a face engagement, because no factions can win a heads-up engagement with Greenskins, you know, for the most part. Like, as a general rule, yes, you may be able to do it specific times and specific places, but as a general rule, just you can't take a face engagement with the Greenskins. This kind of disjointed, kind of asymmetric rush is definitely a way of doing things. These Dark Riders are holding the line for now. They're going to be losing to Spider Riders here. They'll trade reasonably admirably. The key is just to kind of hold this infantry all in check while the charge and skirmish has its effect. The problem is Dark Elves are going to be taking some attritional damage. As long as they can keep their main single entity core alive, should be no problem for the rest. Cav in Three Kingdoms is really something. That is true. I probably should play a little bit more. Cav in Three Kingdoms is pretty strong, for sure. It's interesting how the model counts work, though, because it seems like Cavalry has a much lower model count than in Total War Warhammer. But anyway, oh man, this might be bad. These Chariots charged in here, and these Savage Orcs were in a fairly thick block. I don't know if the Scourge Runners are actually going to be able to escape from this, but right now the Stone Trolls are just eating crossbow bolts to the face, which is fine, you know, for the most part, as long as they don't start losing too many models. But oh no, Bob gets left behind here. It's going to be a big problem. Skarsnik uses his fermented fungi on one of the Scourge Runner Chariots, which was probably going to rout anyway. I think that was maybe a little bit of overkill. But Bob now pulling away from that goon squad. He has managed to catch some of the skirmish tools of the Dark Elves here. So, yeah, I mean, the kite is on, but the counter charge as well is also on. These Doomfire Warlocks doing some pretty okay damage. Dark Riders with shields coming in here, disrupting this archer line. Nice Soul Stealer on this center pocket. Oh no, with Bob gone, the trolls are vulnerable to being terror routed, which they do get terror routed here. That Soul Stealer also starting to finish off some models on that other unit of trolls. So yeah, this is it right here. Pocket gets surrounded. Dark Elves charging from every side with Murderous Prowess active. Again, giving that nice charge bonus. That actually looks like it just barely wore off there, but still. Oh yeah, 30 melee defense on those Spider Riders. They're totally fine. Yeah. Minus 15 less models, which is interesting. I don't know. Maybe there's some historical precedent from the time period that I'm not aware of why that should be the case, but I like big blocks of cavalry charging. That's just me personally. Yes. Yes, yes. Sorry, just getting distracted by something here. One more Soul Stealer for good measure. That should be the end, yeah. Basically looks like army losses. Oh, the clan contract mechanic, yeah. That one's more just about assassinating specific characters, right, though? I don't remember exactly. Or no, you don't even do anything. You just send Snitch to go, and he just goes somewhere and does a thing, and then you don't ever see the actual effect of it, right? Yeah. It's a little bit different, but it would be open to, like I said, pretty much all Order factions. I'd have to look through the other factions, maybe talk to some other, you know, like Lore Master of Sotek, or maybe some other people who know a little bit more about the lore. Rip Wa. Yeah, I didn't even get to use Wa. That was unfortunate. Wait. Okay, I see. I made a mistake on my list here. That's fine. We are already on to the reserves, which is pretty good. Only been going for an hour. Okay. Probably go for about another hour or so. Not going to go too long today, but let me just Okay, let's go ahead and get to the next Naparino here. Let's do Shagrath Strand. Another Dark Elf map, since we're having a Dark Elf day today with Ice Power here. Putting on a clinic. Looks like Dark Elves are better. Yeah. Hello, Anti-Mage. Welcome. Welcome. Noldor, I should say. Welcome, welcome. I'm genuinely excited for what's coming. I just want to play Total Warhammer 3. Like, I really would love for Creative Assembly to host something that I could go to. You know, with the whole world situation right now, I don't know if that's going to be happening, but I'm very excited to get my hands on Game 3. Also excited to see what Creative Assembly and Games Workshop have kind of co-created for Cathay, because, I mean, Kislev already looks great. I'm a fan. Cathay, though, a whole new territory, and probably a much more monster-centric human faction than what we've seen before, is my guess, is kind of how they'll be. No Bretonia actually yet. No one's tried Bretonia against the Dark Elves. Definitely would be a good pick. Looks like Goblin Slayer's going Vampire Coast. Previously, in the last patch, this was actually a really bad matchup for Dark Elves. I have not played it that much in the new patch, I'll admit. Since the great Bomber nerf, but I would imagine it's still probably in Dark Elves' favor. I mean, Vampire Coast's favor. Yeah, no new Warhammer 3 news until May. Yeah, I'm just hoping we get you know, a DLC in the meantime. Yeah, I'm very curious to see what they do for the pre-release too, for the early adopter bonus. I'm curious to see what that is. I don't think they would do something like Dogs of War on that, but maybe. I mean, it is a faction pack, right? Technically, or a race pack, I guess is what they call it. I don't know. I don't know. You would think they'd have learned from, you know, Warriors of Chaos. I mean, Norska was a pretty good one because, like, not an actual, you know, faction. They kind of just made it up and brought some stuff from Warriors of Chaos. And there are a lot of people think they should combine. I've seen some people commented in some of my comment sections saying they should combine Norska and Warriors of Chaos. I don't like that idea. I think it'd be much better to have them be distinct and to flesh them both out more so they have, you know, more different stuff. Chaos Dawi. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. And they also relatively small roster. It's not like there's a ton of Chaos Dawi fanboys, too, as far as I'm aware. Like, the issue with Warriors of Chaos is it's such an iconic faction for Warhammer that to make that as the pre-order bonus, like, a lot of people were not happy because of that. Norska, it's like, again, it's kind of a minor faction. Like, they didn't really exist before. It's something that Creative Assembly, you know, kind of cobbled together themselves. So, that's okay. You know, everyone was fine with that. But it did cause major issues for the Mortal Empires, rather, update, right? So, hopefully they learn their lessons on both fronts, and we'll probably get, I don't know, like, that's why I think potentially Southern Realms, other than the fact that, I mean, yeah, we'll see. If Ogre Kingdoms is a release faction, which I don't think so, because they've already announced Cathay and Kislev. plus the 4 demon factions. I think, right? They announced all those are the... They say there were 9 playable legendary lords? I forget. Anyway. Don't like any Dowie. Hey, no problem, Rubber Duck. Thanks for joining. Have a good one. Pleasure as always, man. I don't know. Ogres, I think, are a little bit too popular for them to do as a faction pack. I think ogres are definitely more likely for DLC. But anyway, what I was going to say is, if the Southern Realms are going to include ogre units, it would make more sense for them to come out after Ogre Kingdoms. Potentially. I mean, maybe they're working on the ogre stuff, and they're like, okay, well, we have this skeleton now, we just need to make the 1 unit for Southern Realms, and then once we have all that kind of framework in place, then we can make it for the Ogre Kingdom. But for me, it would make more sense to have the Southern Realms, if they're going to have ogre units and stuff there. Come from that, they would want to get that out after Ogre Kingdoms. We'll see. 9 lords are confirmed, that's right. I was trying to remember the number. What would the pre-order be? That's what we're speculating about. I don't know. I think they said it was going to be a race pack. Or a faction pack, so... I don't know. Like, what minor factions are there that they could potentially add? Maybe an Albion? The thing is, like, Albion, like, Amazons, they're all in the Total War Warhammer 2 map currently, which I guess would kind of make sense, but I don't know. We'll see. I honestly have no idea. I really don't know. There's kind of reasons why it could be certain things and reasons why it wouldn't be them as well, for basically everything. So, maybe Dapon. Oh, I would love that, personally. I mean, that's Creative Assembly's roots, right, is Shogun 2. So, Nippon would be probably, for me personally, 100% selfish. That would be my ideal, just because we immediately have Samurai to fight Chaos Demons with, which sounds awesome. That just sounds amazing. I would love Amazons, yeah. I don't know if that's super likely, but... You might think so, Artja, but I actually like Tzeentch the best. Me, personally. Let's have a look there. This is a very wide build. We've got Supreme Sorceress, Lore of Fire. What is this? 4 Dark Shards, 3 Bolt Throwers, 4 Dark Riders, a Witch Elf, bunch of Sad Swords up front. On the flip side, we've got Scurvy Dogs. We've got 3 Bombers, 2 Pistols, 4 handgun, or sorry, deckhands. Captain, what is this? Luther Harkon on foot. That's a wild pick. And 4 Mournghouls. Interesting. Harkon on foot, eh? Yeah, Norska was for 2, yeah. Yep. I don't know. They're saying race pack, which I'm assuming means new race, but I guess it could be like a rework of an old race. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they would do that, but... I think it would be cool for the early adopter bonus for them to like rework. Maybe not rework. They should just rework Chaos and Norska anyway. But Beastman too. But I don't know. Give like DLC stuff to all 3 of them. Maybe. I don't know. No bloated corpse, big sad. I know, right? I actually personally would go like 4 Hounds, like super aggressive rush here, but that's just me. You also need dance kebab. Let's see what they can do. Right off the bat, bolt throwers, I'd imagine, yeah, going to be focusing on Harkon. Right now, not making too solid a contact, but does look like the Haunter is visible. So instead, they're going to switch to scatter shots, start going after the bombers, which makes sense. The bombers, because they're loose formation, are not going to take a ton of damage on the repeating volleys. They take a little bit on that first volley, but Morathi's got to be careful here. She can get lit up by Harkon, and I believe his ability here actually gives minus physical resistance, I want to say. Yes, it does. Does Morathi even have... No, she doesn't have physical resistance. She has magic resistance. That's right. It's just a Supreme Sorceress. It's not even Morathi. Just coming in for a nice burning head, so... Yeah, I don't know if she took any miscast damage from that as well, but it does cause some miscast chance. This is going to be a little bit of a rough advance here for the Vampire Coast. Almost said counts, but that's wrong. I mean, kind of. Their campaign is really, really horrible right now, I'm not going to lie. Like, it is very much out of date. So they could rework the campaign for sure. Looks like all the Mournguls are going to get discovered now. And they're all kind of concentrating on this one flank. Again, going for the overload here. Dark Riders are going to collapse here on this gunnery mob. But, I mean, that was a 300 cost gunnery mob that's probably going to die anyway. And they get counter-collapsed here by the Scurvy Dog. So great job initially by Gallows Slayer. He's got this death ball rolling now. Can he start to move up and roll up the flanks here? Some nice bombs being tossed by the bombers. Help win this frontline engagement. Bomb out a couple bleak swords. Relatively cost-effective. I mean, basically like cost for cost doing that. But, yeah, this death ball just kind of rolls forward here. And Harkon's just part of it. He's just getting involved. Does everything here. He does. Wow, magic resistance. So he has his magic resist item here to help this blob from getting Soul Stealer. And obviously there's no Soul Stealer here, but this Cascading Fire Cloak, or sorry, Flaming Sword of Ruin, actually going to do a net negative effect because of that magic resistance, even with the Kindle Flame, especially once the Kindle Flame drops, though, because that imbues magic damage, right? So, as it is, though, the Mournguls are getting pretty well shredded. They're kind of squishy units to begin with. So I don't know, especially with all of this Overwatch fire from these multiple layers of Dark Shards here, it's still going to be pretty painful for Vampire Coast. Yeah, already like 3 Mourngul units pretty much gone. The 4th one coming in a little bit late here, but yeah, this one unit's doing okay. How about the Haunter? Where did the Haunter get off to? Lost track of him. Oh, he's here as well. Okay, he's fine. Yeah, really, really need to push through at this point. Surprised these Witch Elves haven't got terrified yet. Their frenzy is definitely down. But overwhelming missile pressure right now. See what happens. Mourngul down, Mourngul down. We've still got the second Mourngul. Harkon's healthy. I don't know, actually. There might not be a lot to kill Harkon in the late game. Morathi, this is not Morathi. It's just the Supreme Sorceress, Floor of Fire, and she's definitely not going to be able to do it. So this is kind of the old Footlord build, right? But this time with Luther Harkon, which is not something you see every day. He does have a missile attack as well, obviously. Let's see what they can do. It is going to be like them versus the world, and oh man, look at that Haunter just getting melted by crossbow fire. You don't see Dark Shards super often for Dark Elves. They're not great in a lot of matchups, but this is obviously one matchup where they can do just fine. Gotta be careful with this fleet captain, though. Yep, she's gonna take a fireball from the Supreme Sorceress there. This other unit of Mournguls still taking fire as they finally make contact with this unit of Dark Shards here. Yeah, I think this build maybe just needs a little bit more mobility. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of Mournguls personally. I know a lot of people really like them, but yeah, the dogs somehow lost that rear charge engagement, which was unfortunate. Really needed some disruption to get in the back line and, you know, start to take out some of those archers. The crossbowmen, if you will. Dark Shards are decent versus Lizardmen too. They can be, yeah, they definitely can be. There's a couple matchups, like occasionally you can use them to good effect against Empire as well, although if the Empire goes with a Cav, kind of centric build, they can also run you over pretty hard. But yeah, good job by Ice Power. This matchup, like I said previously, I would have thought it is in Vampire Ghost's favor, and I still think if Vampire Ghost goes full arty spam, like, this probably still loses. But I don't know. I haven't tried it in a while. Are Ice Trolls situationally better than Wind Wolves, though? Me? I don't know. As I fall out of my chair there and almost die, my apologies. I just, the Ice Trolls versus the Skin Wolves debate. The Skin Wolves just being faster for me is the biggest kind of deciding factor. Like, even against factions that don't have fire damage, I don't know. I just like Skin Wolves better for the mobility. GG indeed. Expecting Morathi again. Good stuff. Let's see. Welcome, all you people joining too. Looks like we're up to almost 100. So, I don't know if we're going to get to all the reserves, but Bears, it looks like, is up next. Yes, yes. Yeah, 70 melee attack versus large on Skin Wolves. Exactly. Yeah, the lack of armor piercing is definitely a thing, but I don't know. It's an interesting one. And no problem, Nick. Better late than never. Still helps the algorithm, regardless of when you like, so like away. Let's go to Harriot Ridge. We haven't played that one yet today. Good luck. Good luck, Alex. AKA Bears. Hey, thanks, Fritz. Much appreciated. Greetings. How much longer am I streaming tonight? We'll probably go for about another 30 to 45 minutes. Maybe up to an hour. We'll see. Kind of depends on how long these games go, but... What is the state of Famir? They had some successive nerfs, and I think Creative Assembly kind of over-nerfed Famir to the point where they're no longer really... they're good still, but they're just not super cost effective. They rarely will pay for themselves. Their damage output is not amazing, unless it's against the right targets. And their defense used to be pretty good, but I think they nerfed their leadership and melee defense and made them more expensive, kind of like each successively over time. And now they struggle to be cost effective, basically. That's the issue with Famir now. Unfortunately, yeah, I kind of wish they would reverse some of the cost increases they gave them, because I think the stats are fine where they're at right now, but it would be better if they were less expensive. Creative Assembly has a habit of over-nerfing stuff occasionally. Like Ancient Salamander got over-nerfed. And I mean, it's still okay, especially in the hands of the right player if the opponent doesn't have the right build to counter it, but it's so squishy. Like, I don't know, a lot of stuff gets over-nerfed, I think. The Elves are still very good. They kind of got over-nerfed. I'm just waiting for Mortars. Poison Wind Mortars to get over-nerfed, because they definitely deserve it. Just Mir, just all sad and forgotten by the Chaos Gods with their one eye. Basically their lore. Swamp creatures. Arnessa used to be OP. Kind of. Her attack animations were very strong, yes, when she was on foot. And I don't know that she was crazy OP. I'd actually be curious to try Arnessa now again on foot, now that the charge defense and stuff actually works. Potentially she might again on foot. I don't know, need to try it. Arnessa is just such a meme though, like, oh yeah, let's have a non-undead lord on an undead faction. Can't heal her, and you know, she's literally the only unit in your entire army that you can't heal. And she can run away, get terror routed. Yeah. It's fine. She's fine. Not wildly competitive. Maybe if they give her Vanguard. Fun. No one was as OP as Hellebron. Oh, I know, right? Let's go to Iron Mountain Pass for the map. Marcus was OP too? Yeah, to a degree, yeah. His damage scaling shot did do a pretty ridiculous amount of damage when it was like at its high-end scaling, but that was if it hit. And even now, that's an issue for a lot of magic missile abilities. Like, basically, Hand of the Gods, I think, might be the only one that gets taken regularly. Like, every other legendary lord with a magic missile, you just don't take it because it sucks. I know, right? Used to play the same multiplayer maps for Warcraft 3 for a year. Years and years, yeah. Now we complain when we don't get a patch. It's true. Kind of the world we live in, right? Want everything to be constantly updated. Yeah, that's why I said Hand of the Gods is the only one that gets taken consistently. Because it's... I mean, it is good. Hand of the Gods is actually good, but a lot of the other ones don't hit consistently. The nice thing about Hand of the Gods is it's one of those multi-shot type of magic missiles, so you can get at least a partial hit pretty consistently if you use it correctly. And he also doesn't bug out using it. One of the issues, like Marcus, for example, is he will consistently bug out trying to use it and then not cast it. Like get knocked around and have it get cancelled, and Krokar, of course, depending on his mount choice, even on foot, he's still pretty hard to knock over, so you can get it off pretty consistently. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, besides Hand of the Gods, none of them are really worth it. Like, probably the worst are Skarsniks and Kalitas. They're straight up memes. Great for destroying a blob of AI infantry in campaign. Huh. Not much else. Order him to halt and turn fire at will off. Okay, that's interesting. I bet that's the issue with the Huntsman General as well, because like the Oil Flask and the Arrow of Actually have similar issues. So, I'll have to try that. Maybe it'll work more consistently. I don't know, I feel like Amber Bow, even still, like the damage is just not the worth the gold you're paying for it. Like, it's more worth it to just not take it and like, I don't know, you have like half a unit of crossbows right there. Moonbow. Well, no, I'd take it back. Arrows of Kurnos is another one that gets used pretty consistently, but I guess that's not on a legendary lord, technically. Arrows of Kurnos is pretty good. Moonbow can be okay. I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of Amberbow. I don't find myself taking it super often. Those, actually, it seems like are best used against, like, artillery. they have the best chance of hitting something that's a stationary target, which is basically like artillery, right? So maybe Amber Bow's actually good at taking against artillery. It's just, it feels so expensive for what you're paying for it to do that. Especially when you compare it to something like Arrows of Kurnos. Just isn't, in my mind, super cost effective to take. Start to use Moonbow versus expensive infantry. Amber Bow is decent for squishy casters. I guess that's true. I guess that is true. Yeah, damage is mediocre. Yeah, against large armored targets, it's definitely not amazing. For the cost you're paying for it. And like Ariel's thing too, as OP as Ariel is, her magic missile is pretty limp. I mean, it does have an armor sundering, or not armor sundering, I think it's a negative weapon strength effect or something weird. It's, yeah, it's kind of useless. Lamentation of Despair, actually, with Durthu is another one, now that I think about it, that you would take pretty consistently and use it on infantry. Or cav. Go snipe your Beastman's caster. Oof. Big sad. Anyway, let's take a look at the Dark Elves here, up against Lizardmen. For the first time, it looks like Malekith. Very cool. We've got some Fierce Spears, Sad Swords, couple of Scourge Chariots, couple of Dark Shards, 3 Dark Shards, 2 Bolt Throwers, Dark Riders as well, a couple Spears. Oh yeah, Shamans and Famir. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, or like a Greenskins, squishy Greenskins caster. Great to get rid of them early on. Although Marcus is pretty risky to take against the Greenskins, I think. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe the net's nice. I just feel like most Greenskins lords and heroes could crump in pretty good. Lizardmen, though, got 4 Chameleons, 3 Cohort with Jabs, we've got 2 Solar Engines, Mazda Mundi, and Legion of Chocolates for lots of missile resistance. A couple of Cold One Riders, so this is basically the build as I was describing it earlier. He's got a couple of Pterodons, including Pawhawks. Let's see, I mean, Malekith's potentially a risky take here. Those Bolt Throwers have 3 good targets to shoot at, though, so it's going to be a bit of an artillery duel. Likewise, the Scourge Runner Chariots. Theirs here is going to have to be careful to keep his Chameleon Skinks protected. They will be able to deal with the Scourge Runner Chariots if he screens effectively. But, let's see. He has net most precious ability. It's true. He's just a Footlord. You can't take him with any mount options, which is, you know, obviously not great. You could take Marcus on a Griffin. That would be amazing. He would definitely be the meta lord at that point, then. Parts of me wish that you could take him and the generic Huntsman General on Griffins. As OP as that would be, I mean, we have, now with the Sisters, we have flying, you know, legendary shooting lords. Shooting flying legendary lords. Anyway, you know what I mean. Solar Engines are moving up, currently just shooting at Sad Swords. Not going to be the most cost-effective target for them to shoot at. They definitely want to switch to, right now at least, I would switch immediately to Malekith. He's got physical resistance, doesn't have the most armor, nice contact with one of them, or you could shoot these Dark Riders here as well. You could shoot the Scourge Runner Chariots. Looks like Legion of Chocolates. Pop their missile resistance. This thing's got a ton of missile resistance here now, between the Legion of Chocolates and the Sunburst Standard, up to 71% missile resistance. So the Bolt Throwers won't be doing a whole lot during that uptime. Yeah, and meanwhile the Solar Engines can just return fire. Shooting at the Dark Shards, also a very good target to shoot at. Yeah, if Malekith is going to be flying around a lot, there's a plethora of good targets to shoot at, for sure. But even with the missile resistance kind of stacking here, I don't know... Oh, this is an issue. Yeah, these Chameleon Skinks get caught out over here by some Dark Riders and some Scourge Runner Chariots. Does use Shield of the Old Ones to kind of layer one on top of the other. Cold One Knight's out of position here. They could have been into place to potentially defend those Chameleon Skinks. A bit unfortunate. But looks like the Fierce Spears and Sad Swords are going forward. The Pterodons come in to kind of skirmish a little bit. They actually do a lot of damage to the crews, and one Scourge Runner model does go down from the Solar Engines there, so Solar Engines making their presence felt already. Javelins are going to start to unload on these Fierce Spears and so on. The Chameleon Skinks are surviving for the time being, actually, and it does look like the Cold One Riders will probably be able to get there in time to help bail them out a little bit. But let's see. Pterodon's kind of flying away. Probably could come back and just kind of hang around here. They don't need to stay too far from Malekith, but they do want to maintain their distance as well as they can. Chameleon Skinks eventually get bailed out here, not before taking quite a bit of damage, but a nice little contact from the Solar Engine as well. Hitting the Scourge Runner Chariots. Nice kind of horse shot there. Let me ask you this. Is a horse shot on Chariot the same thing as like getting a headshot in a first-person shooter? I mean, I know it doesn't actually deal extra damage or anything, but it could be fun. Nice Soul Stealer, though, going to be hitting all of these single entities and the Legion of Chocolates there, so some really nice value as these Cold One Riders push up and around here. Yeah, it looks like the Pterodons are coming back. Must have had some kind of AoE spell there, it looks like. Oh yeah, Banishment now being used on the Dark Shards here. Very nice. Going to take a little chunk out of 2 of those units. We'll see. Cold One Riders are catching up with the Chariots there. Pterodons are coming in to try and silence the Bolt Throwers, but the one... Oh man, the one Solar Engine just straight up goes down. That is pretty painful. And a really nice breath attack too on the Lizardmen Legion of Chocolates here, although they are still pretty handily winning this combat. Mazdamundi's got to be careful. There's a lot of Dark Shards here. Chameleons are now kind of screening for the Cold One Riders. The Cold One Knights come out here to try and bail out the Scourge Runner Chariots, rather. So Murderous Prowess going off at this point. Pterodons haven't quite finished off this artillery piece, but this one is just about gone. Then the other should be able to switch over to the other one. So let's see. Mazdamundi's taking damage, though. Pushing through, trying to get on these Dark Shards. Dark Shards once again proving their value. Relatively cheap units, but they are going to get lit up by Javelins now at this point. It looks like, yeah, some really nice damage from the Javelins coming in there. Malekith comes to land over on the far side. He and his Cold One Knights are still mostly fine, taking some skink Overwatch fire. But for the time being, nothing really to write home about. This other Reaper Bolt Thrower is still online for the time being. The Solar Engine, though, is relatively healthy. And just got to be a little bit careful here for Bears not to get caught out. Mazdamundi right now in a somewhat vulnerable position. Malekith looks like he's coming back over to try and deal with that situation. And Curse the Midnight Wind is going to be used here to debuff the melee attack and armor. I mean, I'm not really sure about debuffing the melee attack of these, you know, Dark Shards and Fear Spears. But hey, Chameleon Skink's also moving in to try and support a little bit in melee. Looks like another Breath attack going to be used. Doesn't really make a ton of contact with anything, but Soul Stealer is also going off here. What happened to that other Solar Engine? Yeah, unfortunately, the other Solar Engine, huge mistake right now, just completely inactive. Could be throwing some shots at Malekith and debuffing his stats, but instead he drops down, gets a really nice tear route. And things are looking pretty close. I mean, Mazdamundi is pretty vulnerable here and probably going to go down to Malekith, and I think that will cost the Lizardmen the game, unfortunately. Aura? AURAS. Yes, it is spelled wrong. You're correct. No, missile resistance applies against artillery as well. There's something weird with the Slans specifically, where I think maybe their missile resistance is actually bugged or something. But yeah, missile resistance applies to artillery. It works against any... Actually, missile resistance works against any missile attacks, whether that's magic missiles, breath attacks also count as missiles. Anything that counts as a missile attack, which includes any artillery as well. But yeah, well played. Well played to both Bears. Just a couple of minor mistakes there potentially cost him. Yeah, the choice of Mazdamundi as a Lord too is pretty good, but at the same time he's somewhat vulnerable in this kind of a setup. Yeah, to somebody like Malekith, which is not a super common pick here. Ideally, if you have nets, I don't know if Bears did have nets, you could net Malekith and blast him with everything. But maybe, I mean, the missile resistance is definitely something so that you can shrug off the bolts and so on. Didn't end up quite saving the one Solar Engine, but yeah. GG. So let me see. Let me look at the list here one more time. And let's get the next competitors line up here. Never noticed an opportunity. Yeah, you didn't ever get a great opportunity on Malekith. Maybe when he flew forward initially, and was kind of like baiting out the solar engine shots. I don't know if Mazdamundi was actually close enough at that point to net him, but that would be the only time, is that very initial kind of approach. If you'd been able to net him and kind of concentrate everything on him quick, that's easier said than done. And I think Ice Power was a little bit too far away. Maybe a Bennett just played out range for the net, but. Yeah, I think just leaving the Cold One Riders back, like had you had the Cold One Riders available to protect the left flank of Chameleon Skinks, I think that would have definitely made a pretty big difference. And then, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you consider taking a... Just don't know how you would fit it in there. Like a Saurus Scarvet on foot is, what, like 700 points? So you'd have to cut something. I don't know what, though. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to the next one. Go for Ethel Tamara. This one's relatively balanced, I think. Weird one, but... Cool. I'm gonna go grab a drink of water, guys. I'll be right back. All right. Looks like these guys are ready. Let's get to it. Yeah, we got, what, 4 more people still on the list? I don't know if we're 100% going to get to everyone, but I think probably do one more. Yeah, let's do one more. Okay, sorry. Just getting a little distracted by something over here. Yeah, I'm actually we're gonna do Black Phillip, who's up next, and then unfortunately everyone else. I've got Get Up, Killarinu, and Way still on the list. If you guys, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'm gonna hop off, but if you guys are still around in like 2 hours or so, like 2 to 3 hours, I will be down to play some games with you on Discord. So yeah, that goes for anyone else here watching on stream. Like, I'm gonna, after this, not this battle, but the next one, we'll call it, and then again, I'll be back about 2 to 3 hours. So I'm assuming we get done like 3:30, 3:45. I'll be back probably like 5:45, 7-ish. Is somewhere in that time range. I'm not 100% sure, but if some of you guys are still around, definitely be down to play a few games on Discord with you all. So, all right. Let's see what we got here. For Dark Elves, Morathi, Double Feral Manticore, once again, Bleak Swords, Dark Riders, pretty much what we've seen. Coldwell Knights, Lamentation Harvesters against Beastmen. Oh boy, Risky Kazrak in a Vanguard here. We've got Goreherds with shields, some Centaurs, Bray, Shaman, Lorug Wild, some random stuff scattered all around in the map here. Some more Ungor herds like way in the back here. So I'm a little bit concerned that the Beastmen are so piecemeal. They're going to find that they're going to just get terrified individually kind of by the Manticore squad here without having a chance to consolidate their units. Let's see. Maybe Kazrak can help them hold up, but immediately a nice charge by the Scourge Runner Chariots. And yeah, these are not throwing axe Centaurs, but let's see. Maybe there's a pocket Cygor summon here or something I don't know about. Oh, there's a Cygor summon. Let's see. It might be good to just use that immediately. Help take out these Dark Riders. Ooh, the Dark Riders are fading back. And this one Centaur peels over to go after the Scourge Runner Chariots. You can see the Coldwell Knights flipping up and around, and the Manticores also drop on that one Scourge Runner Chariot that gets caught there. Dark Riders get a nice little counter charge here as well. Doombolt getting called down, and the one Manticore gets thrown over there. So some nice counterplay initially by Ice Power here. Cygor Summon does get used immediately in that center pocket, but yeah, poor Centaur's just immediately getting terrified, as we would expect. The Goreherds actually do come in, start to mop up some Sad Swords, some Fear Spears. We've got this big old Vanguard force also coming up and around. Looks like, was that a Word of Pain? I thought I heard a Word of Pain somewhere. I don't know. It might have just been this thing over here. Soul Stealer from the Lamentation Harvesters on this little box of angry goatmen. Kazrak is in melee doing his thing. The Centaur, the Ungor Raiders, though, coming in without any protection here. Yeah, another Soul Stealer going to be popped, this time from Morathi, on that little box of death. Kazrak doesn't care. He's got damage resistance up for the time being, but the Scourge Runner is just chasing those Centaurs off, man. Yeah, that was a glorious Doombolt for sure. Kane is pleased, most pleased with that. Nice Vile Tide, though. Gets a hold of some of the Dread's Fierce Swords, whatever, Sad Swords. Silly Dark Elves. The Ungor Raiders, this Ungor Raider line is actually beating these Dark Riders, so Morathi and the Manticore have to come over and bail them out. I mean, granted, there are some Harpies involved in this fight as well, so actually not the worst for the Beastmen, but the rear charge of the Lamentation Harvesters should turn that around, proc a big old terror route, and unfortunately, all these Ungor herds are just kind of here on the side, waiting to be eaten up by terror as well. Summon Cygor does start throwing rocks, though. Oh, and it hits the Manticore right in the face, sending it into a rage. But look at that, shattered. All three Ungor Raiders just immediately shattered. Summon Cygor does fall. The Summoner is still alive, though, so we could potentially see another Pocket Cygor summon here. Ungors are coming to start get involved now. Another Doom Bolt going to be used on this juicy little blob right here. It does look like the Destroyers of Drakvald are saturated on those Scourge Runner Chariots, which is great for them. I believe the Doom Bolt is actually on them. Oh! Almost crashes my game, too. Wow, that's pretty impressive. But, oh man, Kazrak's in trouble now. Even with his damage resistance buff, he is going to have a hard time against 3 single entities in a surround like this. Unfortunately, the Bratium Lord of Wild's not really in a position to come support. He'd probably just get terrified anyway. But yeah, that'll be a relatively quick victory for the Dark Elves. Pretty wild build from Beastman. That kind of all-around surround Vanguard works nice on paper, but where on this map, Ice Power did exactly what he should, which is to just seize the high ground and hold that and kind of fend off these piecemeal attacks. You would think so. You would think so. And, I mean, her faction is literally called Cult of Pleasure, right? And you do sit, like spread chaos corruption as Morathi, so yes, you would think so. And, I mean, they're literally called the Slaanesha's Harvesters, right? So I personally would love for them to give some Demons of Chaos, some Slaanesh demons specifically, to Morathi's subfaction. I think that would make a lot of sense, and it would be really cool. Hopefully someday. If not, someone will for sure make a mod that does that. Fun. Good stuff. Alright, let's see. That one was relatively quick, so we might have time for one more, maybe, but at the very least, Black Phillip is up. Cool. Give us Slaanesh Demons. Yeah, considering Morathi's already one of the most competitive characters, I mean, that'd be a nice little option. I'd imagine it would be on the same lines as, like, you know, Alariel's tree units, where they're slightly more expensive than the Wood Elf version, but you can still have the option to take them, or like the, you know, the Followers of Nagash. They have a couple of Vampire Counts units, a little bit more expensive. You pay a slight premium on them, but they're, you know, still available. The Hex Race and the Fell Bats. Hex Race, though. The Hex Race, actually, for the Tomb Kings is an interesting one, because it actually gives you a fast attack unit. I mean, granted, you can't really heal them, which is a bit of a problem. You can give them extra physical resistance and anti-large, actually, which is interesting. I'd be curious how that actually works. But, map? Well, seeing as it is the final, we go Plain of Spiders. Desert Showdown, Dark Elf Desert Showdown. I think that's the one. Black Phillip coming in with Bretonia, so Anti-Mage, Noldor, I don't know if you're still around, but here's some Bretonia for you. Yes. Good. Looking good. Thank you all so much again for coming out. It's been awesome. Nice little short multiplayer stream for you guys. I was like, I need to record some content. I should just do a stream. And I was planning on doing a stream at some point again, so here it is. Sorry I didn't give you guys a little more advance notice, but I'm going to try and stream like at least once a week. I know I've said that quite a few times in the past, but we'll see if we can make it happen. I was potentially going to do another South Sea Mercenary League tournament series, but yeah, I think we're going to wait on that. Yes, for the lady, or not. Instead he goes Tomb Kings, which is fine. Undead is fine. I should have not picked a desert map. Black Phillip, definitely been practicing a lot of Tomb Kings lately. It's an interesting one. The Morathi foot blob is just nasty in the matchup. General foot characters are very good here. Even foot Malekith, I think, is probably pretty good in this matchup. All right, let's see. Final battle for the Dark Elves. You know, it's interesting, like, the recent World Cup streams I've done, right? Like, Dark Elves haven't really featured at all in any of those games. So for those of you who want Dark Elf stuff, honestly, you probably should change the thumbnail to a Dark Elf thing, but... Ice Power turned this stream into sorceresses with enchanting auras, exactly. I'm probably going to change it to that after the stream, actually. Instead of a Lizardman stream, we got a Dark Elf stream. That's okay, you know? It's okay. Sometimes variety's the spice of life, you know? One of the reasons why I wanted to cast Noldor's group is because he played primarily Bretonnia and Empire, so wanted to get those games for sure. AURAS. Yeah, AURAS. Let's see. We got Morathi double Manticore again. Double, triple Bolt Thrower this time. Some Fear Spears, 3 Cold One Knights, front line of Corsairs. For the Tomb Kings, we got 4 Skeleton Horsemen Archers, Tomb Scorpion, Eyes of the Desert, bunch of Nehekara Horsemen, Arkan the Black, and a Tomb Prince. Skeleton Swords, Skeleton Spears, Chariot over there, some Nehekara Horsemen. So good stuff. Good stuff. Bocav gonna start to move forward. The Scorpion will be subjected to Bolt Thrower Fire, which is fine. It can potentially try and cut and run and dodge some of those shots, but at the same time, it also can just stand and take it, especially at the high distance that Bolt Throwers aren't going to hit all of their shots. In fact, they will probably miss quite a few. That's fine. Totally fine. Morathi and these Manticores might come start chewing on this front line, though, if there's nothing to stop them, and the Corsairs also will come in and just blend these skeletons. So Black Phillip's got to make him move pretty quick, whatever he's going to do. Looks like the Nehekara Horsemen immediately going to charge in here, though. And are they just charging the... what are they charging, I wonder? Are they just going to charge the Corsairs? All in? That'd be pretty interesting. These Corsairs do make contact with a couple of the skeletons in the front line. Chariot and Nehekara Horsemen going super wide out there. Probably a little bit closer would be fine. But yeah, Nehekara Horsemen here getting double dropped by Manticores. Fate of Biuna on Cold One Knights. Interesting choice. Normally you would see a Spirit Leech and a nice skeleton warrior summon to kind of blunt their charge into those Nehekara Horsemen. Pretty good stuff. So far, Scorpion has taken basically no damage, is getting ready to get involved in the fight. Yeah, first Realm of Souls popping off as the skeletons kind of fight with the Corsairs. Going to be a great situation for the Corsairs. Nice Soul Stealer. Catches Arkan, catches the Scorpion, a few of the Skeleton Horsemen Archers. These Cold One Knights are doing pretty good so far, though. The Sepulchral Stalkers haven't really tried to focus them too hard. Looks like Arkan's having to pull away from the Manticores as well. Now we should see some of the focus come for the Eyes of the Desert. Yeah, opening up on the Manticores, kind of pushing them back. One unit of Cold One Knights is done, and the Chariots now coming in from the back are going to be able to take out these Bolt Throwers, shut them down. So shutting down that range threat is pretty important, but this giant meat shield line of skeletons is getting pretty much sacrificed here completely. Likewise, Arkan really needs to stick with the Tomb Prince and the Scorpion and fight 3v3 against these single entities here. Like right now, Eyes of the Desert, they've got Liber Mortis for tons of physical resistance, so they'll be just fine for the time being, but they are going to get overwhelmed here by these 3 single entities. Meanwhile, the Chariots come in, they clean up one bolt thrower, so 2 bolt throwers are down. This other unit of Cold One Knights also getting chased down and finished off by some Kara Horsemen there. Got the Ushabti summon. It looks like the Manticores are trying to pull away. Do they actually get away? The one Manticore, it looks like, was not able to get back up in the air. So now Arcan and the Tomb Prince counter-collapsing. The Feral Manticore are going to get a nice side charge in there. It looks like it was able to squeak away, though. And Arcan and the Tomb Prince just staying tight to the Ushabti, which is definitely the right play. They've got the Eyes of the Desert and the Skeleton Horseman Archers all over here as well. Scorpion's a little bit out of position. Yeah, it looks like Ice Power is going to swing over and probably, yeah, I would imagine try and get the Scorpion while it's isolated. Also try and get these Chariots, potentially, while they're isolated. But Morathi maneuvering up and around. The 2 Manticores drop, and really nice charge damage on the Scorpion there. Bolt thrower, we did get the one, did not get shut down, and man, that Scorpion taking a ton of damage right there. Pretty painful stuff. Likewise, the Cold One Knights kind of fighting out in the periphery here. The infantry fight just being so hard against the Tomb Kings is rough for sure, but now that they've got all these Corsairs blobbed up here, if he can get his Chariots free, start getting good rear charges and so on, potentially could do a lot of damage to that blob, but right now it looks like the Chariots are a little bit hung up. Arcan getting charged by the Manticore as well as he tries to go bail out the Tomb Scorpion. Tomb Scorpion's still alive, but the Manticore, Morathi, and the other Manticore all still completely healthy here, and they actually catch Arcan the Black in a little triangle here. This is worst case scenario for Arcan. Scorpion does come in and straight up body block one Manticore away, but I think Arcan's basically done for at this point, especially with the Soul Sealer effect going off now, doing a ton of damage to the Eyes of the Desert, the Scorpion, and Arcan the Black. So yeah, Tomb Prince just not in the right position at the right time to get damage. It looks like that should be all she wrote. Once again, friendly firing the Manticore with that Doom Bolt, but as soon as Arcan goes down, that's army losses. So GG, well played. I do think Black Phillip's main mistake was just going too wide with his Chariots there. If he had kept them a little bit closer and been able to like beat those Corsairs on the one flank and then actually have his Skeletons potentially chase them off, that would have evened out that infantry fight quite a bit more, and that would have led to more support units being available for Black Phillip against, you know, the fight against the Morathi and the double Manticores. But good stuff. Good stuff. Cold One Knights not even paying for themselves. They did all right. But Corsairs, Fierce Spears, all doing a great job for sure. Yeah, it's all good, Black Phillip. It happens. It happens. You just got to try and, especially the single entities, keep them together as much as possible. But I actually, in some of my games this morning against Ryder Rohan, I was doing the same thing, like throwing out my cavalry and chariots like super wide for rear charge, like a little bit wider to where I needed to go, and then I end up forgetting about them because they're so far out of frame. But how many wins does this give Ice Power? All of the wins. All of the wins for today, because this is in fact the last battle. Again, for those of you guys who did not get to play, be sure to hang around if you can on Discord. I'll be back in about 3-ish hours or so. So yeah, we'll get some games on then. 6. I gotta run Ice Power, unfortunately. But thanks for playing. Big appreciation, big smile, big thanks to all of you guys for joining, for watching, for playing, all that jazz. Yeah. Sure to stick around for some more content. More coming soon. We'll catch you later now. Bye-bye.